Hi everyone, welcome to this session. So let's understand what is synchronous code and what is asynchronous code. So synchronous code is something wherein operations are performed one after another in sequence. That means each line of code waits for the previous one to finish before moving on to the next one. But in asynchronous code, what happens is that it allows multiple tasks to run concurrently, okay, independently of each other. So that means it doesn't block the execution flow. So for example, let's say if we have 4 tasks, these 4 lines of code. So normally in synchronous manner, these 4 lines of code will get executed one by one. But let's say if there is any task which is taking more time. So for example, let's say task 2, let's say it takes more than usual time to get executed. So in that case, what will happen if your code is a synchronous code, then the execution flow will be blocked here itself, right? So basically task 3 and 4 will not get executed until and unless task 2 is completed. All right. But if your code is an asynchronous code, it won't wait for the task to get completed. It will complete task 1 and then it will start the execution for task 3 and task 4, and then we'll get the result for task 2 whenever it gets completed. All right. So in JavaScript, because JavaScript is a single threaded language, so the code, the sequence, right, the sequence in which the execution happens is also one by one itself, right? So every line of code waits for the previous one to finish before moving on to the next one. So for example, let me go to JavaScript and run this piece of code. So I'll go to JavaScript. If I save it, so you see here all the tasks are executed in sequence, task 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now let's say, as I said, right, let's say if task 2 is taking more time to get executed, then what will happen? So there's a method, okay? There's a method using which we can set a timer here. So there's an asynchronous method which is set timeout. So here we'll write a callback function, okay? And here we are just going to give a time. So let's say 3000 milliseconds, that means 3 seconds. And I'm going to put task 2 inside this. So basically task 2 is going to take 3 seconds. And then I will just pick this code and keep it here. So here task 1 will get executed, but then task 2 is going to take at least 3 seconds. And then we have task 3 and 4. So let's see what happens, okay? If I save this, you see task 1 got executed, task 3 and 4 got executed, but then task 2 took at least 3 seconds to get executed. But if you would have observed, it did not block the execution flow, right? So 1 got executed, but then it was not waiting till the task 2 was completed, right? So it executed line 1, then 3 and 4, and then we got the result for task 2 whenever it got completed. And it is running this way because this set timeout method that we have written is an asynchronous method, okay? So let me take another example here. So let's say if I have 4 tasks, log, and then task 1, let's say I have order food. But here there could be different situations, right? So let's say if you don't want task 3 to get executed until unless task 2 is completed, okay? So let's say if you have a dependency between task 2 and 3. So although you are handling the code asynchronously, but then you know that, okay, there's a dependency of task 2 on task 3. So you don't want task 3 to run before task 2 is completed. All right. So what will you do in such situation? So to understand that, let's take another example, okay, so that it will be more clear to you. So I'll take 4 tasks here. So log, and here I'll take task 1 as order food, and then I'll take task 2, call a friend, and then I'll take task 3, watch TV, okay, and then I'll take task 4 as eat. Now here if you see the sequence, all the 4 tasks are getting executed one by one in sequential manner, right? So there are few things over here. So for example, now this line of code, right, ordering food, right? So food will take some time to arrive. Just imagine this particular task. For example, let's say if you are calling some external API, right? If you are fetching data from some external system, and then of course it will take some time, right? So similarly here also, let's say the task that we have defined, this is going to take some time. So we know that for sure. But then just because this is going to take some time, we don't want to block the execution flow for 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so here we are going to use the set timeout method. So to write the set timeout method, set timeout, and then here we are going to write a callback function. So we'll use parenthesis and then we'll use fat arrow, and inside this we have to first pass a time. So let's say I'm going to give 5 seconds, that is 5000 milliseconds. All right, and then inside this I'll put my task 1. So what will happen now? So if I save this, you see task 2, 3, 4 got executed, and then task 1 got executed after 5 seconds, right? So here if you observe, calling a friend was not dependent on anything else, right? So it is okay that this got executed in this sequence. Watching TV was also independent, so this is fine. But if you see task 4 and 1, this looks a bit not correct, right? So for example, the food should arrive first and then only only you should be able to eat, right? So exactly for this kind of situation, we have certain JavaScript asynchronous methods which we can use to kind of order these sort of situations, right? So here, what do I want now? I want that this particular task. So for example, this particular task 4 should get executed only after task 1's completion. All right. So for that, these three are, we can use either callbacks, promises, or async await. So we are going to, as I said, we are going to see separately all these three methods. But right now, let's just take a very simple example of callback. All right. So I'll go here, and for callback, first of all, I'll create two functions. Okay. And I'm going to separate out the both the things that I want separately. Okay. So function 1, and in function 1, I'm going to keep my task 1, and then in function 2, I'll keep rest of the task. Okay. So I'll this, and then let's just save this. So here I just want to make sure that function 2 should execute after the completion of function 1, right? Because eating comes under function 2. So I want to make sure that the food task has already been completed, then only this should get executed. All right. So for this, now we are going to use callback function. So this is how you use a callback function. Okay. So you will call function 2 inside function 1. So we are going to call something like this. So callback means, so function 1 and then function 2. Okay, so this means that call function 2 only after the completion of function 1. That means we are calling one function into another function. Okay, and this is exactly what we call as callback. So now in function 1, you are passing function 2 as parameter, right? So passing function inside function, and this is called callback. So inside your function 1, let's just pass a parameter and let's give it a name as callback. All right, but after this, you also have to invoke the callback here, right? So here I will write something like this callback. Don't worry if you're not understanding this I'm like, we'll study this in detail. For now, just try to understand what you're like, just try to grasp the concept, and that's it. So if I save this, and then if I save this file, so here now if you see, the function 1 is getting executed first, so that is why it is taking 5 seconds, and then after function 1 got executed, then only function 2 got executed, right? So now the order looks fine, like the sequence looks fine now. All right, so just remember the key points, as in, like, what is synchronous code and what is asynchronous code. And also remember that JavaScript is a single threaded language. That means every task gets executed one by one in sequence, but then there are few methods using which we can handle asynchronous code or asynchronous code situations in JavaScript, and these are the ways by using which we can handle asynchronous code in JavaScript. All right, so that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one.